Hello techies, I'm Divya here. On behalf of CyberBrainer, don't you think the world of tech is evolving faster than ever? Now is the perfect time to dive in and build the skills that will take you places. With CyberBrainer, we are putting you in the driver's seat of your own future. We at CyberBrainer don't just teach your interest. We believe that knowledge is power, but it's applied knowledge that truly sets you apart. Whether you're diving into data science, mastering artificial intelligence, or exploring the world of cybersecurity, our courses are designed to give you the skills that matter. So let's jump into the session and make the future yours today. Thank you.
The base part of the attestation is attestation only works for clock in, clock out worker, not for all the workers. Somebody is able to do clock in, clock out. That is only possible in only time. Clock events are only there for club or attestation part, not the workers who are entering direct hours. Only for those. It is not favorable or reliable. It will not work. That is the first condition. It only applies for clock in, clock out workers. The first thing that we did yesterday. Maintain a response. If you write time attestation, prompt a response. We created our response over here. Time, clock events, and all right. Like this. That's the only thing that we have done. Right? And after that, if I want over here maybe, we saw the time into template in the same. Let me just first identify the worker. Time clock history. Time clock history is the one which helps in terms of identify the workers. For example, in this particular worker, if there is no one, let me just check if somebody is talking. Carol Lee was the worker, correct? For which we see the Carol Lee. Alright, let me just see. Carol Lee. This was the worker. Enter my time. Let me go to over here action. If I go to this worker, there is enter my time over here. My time is up. If I go to this is the same. We are logged in as this worker. What we can do over here is, let's do one thing. I go to the home screen. This is his home screen. I go to the new time scheduling. I can see clocking. This worker is all enabled for clocking. Clock out. Let's see the time entry template first. Worker time eligibility. Caro. If I If I open this worker time entry template, now I can configure the main attestation rule. I'll go over here. I'll go to the attestation. I'll go to the attestation. Add my meal rule over here. That is what we created yesterday. Alright. This one of the rules that we have selected that if it is greater then you need to take one. If it is greater than 8 and less than 12, then you have to take 2 meal breaks. Correct. This is the part we did. What does this tell the system? That system says that what is the when there is a meal identification of meal time. This is something that we create. The meal break rule is basically the basic parameter for identifying when a person should take a meal after the shift hours. This is an out punch or a meat punch or doesn't matter. If it is out punch after 5 hours, alright, it will say one trigger that have you taken your meal or not. Alright, and if it is early checkout, something like that, if he has moving out, alright, then we can create conditional calculation based on that to waive off the meal, or the meal is not needed. The penalty shouldn't come across. End shift attestation. Now here is no items over here. What we will do? Let me see one thing. And shift attestation. Okay. Attestation rule. We have done this. We'll now create attestation rule. Now attestation rule is a shift and rule. There are two rules. One is your meal length and one is your end of shift attestation. Alright, if I add on end of shift attestation, I'll get this. The violation is basically what is the penalty that needs to be given? Right? Prompt is basically what's the responses we have created. Have you taken your meal or is a meal waived? Do you remember what we have created? That comes over here. Alright. For example, have you taken your meal? I can put my options over here. What we have covered. Alright. If I said yes, then they can do a cross questioning regarding like we can also add cross questions. When did you take it? Are you sure? Like for example, I'm just taking in a comic way. Maintain attestation. Alright, responses. I can add one more over here. Are you sure about it? Are you sure about it? Cross questioning. It was sure over here. Are you sure about it? Then, after that your response, you can configure your response order over for discussion. You can configure another response. We have like this. This is the basic rule for that. Once somebody has done that, a station. Alright? If you want to make your attestation condition-wise, in the same template itself. Alright? For example, that attestation, like if I click, that would be a lot of rules over here. It is there or not. We would need to create more attestation rule over here. If you make it condition rule in terms of conditional rules. Alright. For example, software engineers or somebody has is on a 6 consecutive day. And if it is taking the attestation, if that falls for that attestation, like I'm on a 6 consecutive day, I'm working more than 5 hours. Alright. More than you want to customize your attestation rules. Alright. Based on day to day. Wise, you can do it through time. Attestation condition rule over here. And that will auto populate over here. Like if you want to make it more descriptive or more detailed. Alright. This is the basic one for which we are creating. Now, if I click over here, I'll ask the violation. The first is, what is violation? Basically the penalties. There are a few options over here. What is always show? Like always, it will show this prompt. There will be no errors. Alright, it will always show. If I click over here, let's do every bit and piece of this. Go to that time and the template. Add the attestation over here. Control. It will pop up. Now wait. It did an error over here. You cannot use meal break rule set to evaluate the end of shift. Maximum duration out is non-zero. Please adjust your confirmation. Cannot use meal break rule set to evaluate a shift when the maximum duration of out is non-zero. Let's see. There is no maximum out over here. Let me see over here. We have to configure this. Now let's click. Over here. Alright. Now let's go to Caroli. I'll go to my time scheduling. Check in. Click. Now when I go to the time card, enter my time. If I go to her today's checking, I said unmet check-in, check-out. Over here, right now, where I get an unmatched check, in checkout what I need to do. I'm in scheduling. I get checkout. You might get into. If I want to make it over here, right now, let's make it. How many hours it is? 6 months. Let's see if it gives some items or not. No shift, no shift, shift, no shift. Few details. Just Ken, I want to make this as of now an alert. I will show you how to do this. There is in my testing what I've seen. It shows on another pop-up. Have you taken your meal or not? Like that. Right now it is not showing generally. It shows like that. Let me see. Let's see why it is not showing. There would be a reason one. It is a clock in, clock out event. That's why it does not go to the time entry hub. Alright? But we will see that right now. Here you see an unmatched checkout. Did you observe this? What data is all about? It's basically there's no check-in, but there's a checkout. In this particular scenario, whenever these things happens in the system, alright, the time card gets affected a lot. Time cards does not get submitted and time cards low gets disrupted. And under this particular thing, what happens? I'll tell you how to resolve this particular situation. This is also like a thing that I got to know when I was doing training. Alright? What do you need to do when you see this unmatched checking time, clock on matched, unmatched time clock events, or the entire tenant will give you? Start. Sorry, I was using we found only one checkout checkpoint. That Carol Lee has done it. There's a checkout event, but there is no checking. This is how you want to identify workers. Whenever there is a transaction, when is happening? Whenever there are clock in, clock out workers in the system. Alright. At that given point of time, when this issues comes into the picture and on a wider scale, you want to check. This is a task you want to do and match time clock events. Then you find the worker. There are two types, right? Now you have to go to the worker. We have to work over here. Just refresh over here. When we click over here, this is an unmatched checking part. What we can do, either we have an option to add the time over here. Check-in time like 301. And click, then it will be a match checking. There's a block code gender, or if it is, there must be a scenario that it is an invalid entry. Then we can delete this entry. If I click over here, automatically the block code gender. Why this exercise is needed? The first thing, the timesheets. If the timesheet is linked to the payroll shouldn't get the PG, shouldn't get PG. You understand the PG pick-off integrations. Hey, there are two kinds of integrations in the system. One is PG and the second one is Pickoff. PG is basically payroll effective changes interface. Pickoff is the older version. PG is the new one when we integrate our time cards with external system. External system, for example, your payroll vendor. VUG. There are lots of other parts of integration. The PG is one of this. I have worked on PG before. I have worked on integrations before. That's why I have the knowledge in this part. But as you should also know, like when we integrate with a third-party system, the invalid time clock events do not flow over there. Alright. And for this worker, the entry which would come for the week would be an invalid entry, just as because this and much time entry the other entries would get affected. That's why we clean up the system. That is the first part of creating those issues, creating those kinds of solutions for this PG pickoff. You would hurdle here a lot of PG pick-off integration because I have worked majorly with the third-party external system because Workday do have their own payroll system, but that payroll system works for America, Canada, UK, and France. But Workday is not leading in payroll systems. The payroll providers like ADP Wire, these are like the XLT. These are like the leading brands of payroll. They dominate the ecospace. Rather than working in this particular payroll part, also in finance also, Workday has done good in HCMM part and other modules like sub-modules such as talent, performance, learning environment and those, but it lacks in when it comes to payroll. A payroll is like ADP and all those. I have worked with them and their integration part while like integrating Workday with them. That's how I got to know about this. These entries would create, like these invalid entries create all recurs in the system. Unmatched time entry comes under that. Now let's go to this particular worker. End of the session. I suggested that only questions that we have. I'm just saying where the policy comes in. This again. I am playing thread right here that you see. If I go, I'll make it over here. The shift is greater than 5 and it is less than 9. Number of meals should be 1. Maximum time to work hours without a meal is. I go to this rule set. I can go to the timesheet. I go to the timesheet. I did check in. And I go to the timesheet of round right now. This employee over here. I go to the worker over here. The shift generate. I mean, over here. He told you to see him in time. And I make it 9 o'clock. Let's make it 11:30. If I go to me, checked on me. Once again, let me delete the pool entries. Once now, if I go over here and put it. Now I get this one over here. Put out over here. Then get should get a population. Over here. Once again, let me make it like this 1 second. We need to delete the other entry small. And now I see you. And you get one on my checkout. I click over here. Um, I'm not sure. The thing is that this gives a pop-up window. Even if we have those things over here, it gives you a pop-up over here that you have taken or not. I have to check on that. Let me circle back again. Let me check on this particular part. Maintain. your time and rate and late. Karaoke. One or more bigger one circle up. Let me just see. Single break. Single mean violation. One cut short. Is that a delivered function? These are all the members. Now I go to my time entry. I can check in. And match I can check out. Check, check in. And again, checking. Let. Now if I go level 30, if I click again, it shows that generally shows over here. Another violation statement. What I see. Give me one moment. Just, I do have the same thing in my tenant. Give me a moment. I'm just logging to my system. Alright, my own system that I'm using two different computers. Alright, give me one more. I'm just verifying my. It has the same. It has a similar configuration that we have done for California. Once again, I'll just check my own time and the same kind of volume. Let me again go to the end template, right? Time shift attestation. Attestation. Click. Go to the rule set. And shift attestation. This is a rule set that we created. It says less than 5 hours. Number of means. Just editing it. And then going. Going into begins at the X hour. Click and clock history. History. Work. thoroughly. Let's test it. Open this worker. What today? Let's delete one entry. Now let's add a clock event. Clock event starts. Oh, again, two. This is a check-in. One set. And I walk you in for this worker over here. Go to this. Time scheduling. Under this also, I'll check the time. Wait for time. Just the covers. There is 22 correct. I go to this checkout. It should come. It should come. There is. Now, if I go to the match time entry, where is the time entry? It actually should come from this to this. A pop-up should come when I do the checkout. That your attestation. I think this should come. This is the simple way to do this. Do in your tenant. Do you have this attestation one? We have attestation, but it doesn't make sense to me. One sec. It works like that only. How it does work? I'll tell you. I think this tenant has some issues. I think this is the exact configuration that I have in my tenant for California. One sec. Let's just recap. All right? I think whatever I'm going to tell you, can you just try to replicate in your one of your tenant? I'll do it. I'll just give me the response tomorrow. All right? Just tomorrow we'll connect once again for the overall Q&A part. But just give me that response. The first thing that we have done in over here maintain. Prompt attestation. Why this is needed? This is basically capturing the values. And it is used for reporting also. Alright. Capturing the values and responses. This is most needed. What prompts we want to give first is like if they have taken the attestation or not, or if they have taken the meal or not. That is the first part. Corresponding to that, we have created responses. You can create any number of responses in the system. Alright? Why a number? Because your attestation does not mean for us some simple California only. There can be different geographies over here, and other geography would have some of the other rules, customized legal law, etc. Some companies do want their team members to take a break after 3 hours. For example, like there is a company which works for cosmetics cow. They are heavily in Japan, and their company, they had like They were like heavily onto that breaks one. Break kind of thing. Like if somebody is working continuously for 3 or 4 hours, they need to take a break of 10 minutes or something. Or if somebody is taking more breaks, alright, then he needs to. He cannot end the work at the given point of time. He has to extend the hours. Those kind of. I think error and critical errors were there. Alright. Responses can be a different thing. The first thing before configuring attestation is capturing the responses. Once the responses is captured, what you need to do, you need to identify which population you are going to target. We go over here. Time entry template. We have carer. Time entry template over here. Now, from here, first part gets configured. That is your attestation part. The first thing that you configure after editing your time entry sheet is the meal break rule. What the person would take in terms of breaks. That's the meal break rule set. Alright. How the attestation would work. The first part. Your rule set would be if your shift is greater than 5 hours and less than 9 hours, then you need to take 1 hour break. Now, you can make it more other like that. I think our entry was a little bit different. I am thinking once again, let's do one more thing before recapping it. This rule will fall when our shift is. 1 second. Maybe I don't want it to get greater than 5 hours and less than 1 hour. Right now it is what's the time in the US? Right now. 6:45 p.m. in Eastern. Let's do first. Let's do one thing over here. The entry I've got. Oh, I hate this part of the testing. Or this. Because it is still 2 hours now. Maybe that is the way. That's why it has not shown anything. Now again time to log history. We have entered time over here. Time to put over here. You know the one over here. I want to make sure that I have everything on the table. And clock history. This is just for the testing purposes. Curly. and I went just 9 hours before or 8 hours before. Right now 3:47. It would be 6. And 7, 6 and 7 and 7. Check in. Click. Now go to the time and schedule scheduling over here. Check out. Let me just see if it is going or not. No, I would have also given that. Have you taken your meal or not? Again, a new window. Have you taken your meal or not? Now let me open this. "8.75, it should come to have come. I think you have to just check in your end. When you say it applies to a clock and then close local workers, how do I configure that? The time entry course needs to be clocking in and out, just in and out. After that, the testing method is time clock history. Open that. For which worker you want to test, you go to that worker. Name that work over here. Time clock. History is basically the entire investigation report of the worker. What he has done on that particular day. Clock and clock out. You, for example, Carol, if I have taken. I click over here. I see entire history what she has done over here. All the match clock events like clock in at 3:39, clock out at 3:48. All those things. The first thing that you need to do in terms of testing is adding a clock event. You add a clock event over here. Mention the time and event type. Check in. Just check in. Click, then go to the time entry sheet. Event type is checking. Sorry. It's luck. Click. Right click and go to the worker time area on the menu. Previously, it used to come on the home page. You go to the time menu. Once, go to the time application. There is another tab over here which is put, which would be there. That is known as clock out. Click on checkout. Once you click on checkout, it will open up a screen that a new window would come up like attestation rule. Whatever you create, the attestation that would come up. Alright, that is the way to test it. Can you go to the maintain prompts and because it's not very clear, it's very confusing to me. Maintain prompts. Maintain prompts. Maintain attestation prompts. And when will these pop up? This is the entire prompt section which you will create. This is the entire prompt section. It can be a lot of prompts like somebody is dead, somebody is, or you are going early or whatever. These are the prompts which it come, which you will create, which will not come on its own. I'll tell you this needs to be created. Question and answer like the questionnaire answers. You need to create that. Upon creating this, once it is created, when we go to your time entry template, we use the time entry template. There is a rule set here. It will not come. Rule set is basically configuring the rule. 5 hours or less than 9 hours that we configured in the meal break rule. Correct. The attestation part comes and gets tagged over here. Where it goes? End of shift attestation. How to configure over here? We need to configure. How to configure that? Great. But this station rule time attestation rule. When I click over here, I'll name it AK. That to a role type end of shift or meal length. End of shift is like you have not taken your meal and you're ending it. That is, one meal length is if you are violating the meal, you're going beyond the limits. Or maximize, or you are going beyond the limits, or you're taking lesser than your which is given to you. That is meal length. Open on the rule type. End of the shift attestation. Here you see this particular window. First the violation. When the violation should trigger that pop-up window, always show is where it will always come whenever you are ending your shift, even if you are violated or not violated. It will show on your screen. That is always shift violation. And this cannot be created. This is already there. Any meal break violation, insufficient total break time, insufficient total mean time, one or more meal break cut short, or one or more meal break missed. Those are the options. One or more meal cut short. Like cut short means like not taken properly. Correct. Missed or time between breaks and exceed. These are the conditions. Alright. Always show will always come after that. The prompts that you have created, it will come over here. Now you need to select what prompt should apply in your time card. Correct. This prompt set is the whole prompt set which is tenant wide. Tenant. This here you will customize for your own template. And that attestation. Can we go? What are the responses then? Like you can give your response. I was busy or whatever. I got an accident. All those things. How does it know that? First one for the first one. No. The moment you have created over here, it is also customizable. Like for example, if I say, have you taken your meal? Response. All the responses would come over here. Whatever I have given. How it will know is basically, you will have to configure that. What kind of response? What kind of possibility of response can be over there? For your template, this whole thing is tenant-wide. Time attestation prompts and time attestation responses. This is whole tenant-wide. But this thing is for your basic time, inter-templates. And even if you have given the response, you can have an additional prompt like cross-coaching that I showed you. And that too can have another response also. Alright, like I told you that I sure about it. That is also an important part. After configuring this, you need to just put this over here. Akshif and rule the way we did and make sure that your time shift does not have like in your attestation. After that in your time shift, it should not have any time shift validation over here. It should have none or work day delivered. Make sure that it should have been none. Then the attestation rule. Attestation rule would work properly. If time shift is over there, then what it will do? It will not override the attestation part. It will work according to the time shift. It has higher priority as compared to your attestation. There is no point of having an attestation where you will not find out the violations. Correct. And then, what was that section where you said greater than 5 and less than 9? Meals rule set. What does that mean? Like, this is basically your identifying proportion. Like, for example, in California, somebody is working more than 9 hours or more than 5 hours. He needs to take one break. Correct. I made a rule that if the worker is working on a shift and if the shift is greater than 5 and less than 9 in that period of time, he should take one meal break. And then what did you put there in the meal and break details? I clicked on meal and details. I just put meal length should be 1. Waved aloud. And begins at least X hours before the end of the shift. X hours before the end of the shift. 5 hours before the end of the shift. Shouldn't this number be different? Like it should make it 3, or will that work? That means it just means that it's 4 hours at the 4th hour. Begins at least X hours before the end of the shift. The 9 minus 5 is 4. It is not falling between 5 and 9. I think you're on mute. Shouldn't it be? I was saying the maximum is 9. The 9 minus 5 is 4. 4 and lie between 5 and 9. Maybe that's why it is not triggering. Probably if you make it. Or if you make it like this, let's edit it. That is one important thing. Or we can make it like this. Begins no later than X hours after the shift. No later. Then we have to make it greater than 5. No, it's greater than 5. No, that's how you get to be better than 5. Let's do one thing. Probably there we can. We would miss this. Once again. Cancel it. And clock history. Let's first delete the time. And this is the one on the correct. Let's make it 7, 7, 10. Check in. Let's do one thing. Check in now over here. Go to task. The time she now thanks to. Check out. Outlets if it is coming on. It should come. It should have come. This is. $8. The ruse is that better than 5, less than 9. No later than X hours of the beginning of the shift. Hours. It should be greater than 5 that value, I think. But why is it? Why greater than? Why do you think? Shouldn't it fall between 5 and 9? Greater than 5 and less than 9. But begins no later than X hours of the beginning of the shift. The 5 hours before the beginning of the shift. No, begins no later than after beginning of the shift. When did the shift start? It started at 7:19. 7:19, 7 plus 19. I make it, let's see what number you are proposing. Let's try like sticks there, or let's change the length to 4. On the screen here, let's change the length to 4. If you delete the out, will that work? No. We have to delete the time. Okay, went. Checking. Check out. It's taking us out. Meant to be. Meant to be. Meant to be. Meal break rule has. Begins no later than X hours of beginning of the shift. Shift started at 7. 7 plus 5 is. It is following the rules. Will is falling like that. You just checked. Check the same configuration in your tenant. You're feeling the same. Alright. I'll try, but I'm very confused now. In what aspect? Like these prompts and stuff like prompts. The first unit to create the prompt. Tenant-wise, that is fine, but that numbering is not working like 5-9. What it is basically, this 5-9 is basically, this is a rule set of your meal. After 5 hours, you need to take a meal. Correct. How many meals you need to take it you define over here. Alright. The length of hours after. If the shift is greater than your 4 hours of shift, then you would have to take one meal. Alright. If your total shift length is 9 hours, if your shift starts for 4 hours and it's within the time frame of 9 hours, then one meal you need to take that you need to configure over here. What is the length of the meal you need to would? Which would you need to configure is 30 minutes. Then if you want to put a role over here also like You're first. What's the meal length? It's 30 minutes. You need to take a meal. If your shift is falling under the bracket of 4 hours to 9 hours. If your shift is more than 4 hours on that particular day and it is lesser than 9 hours, then you do take 30 minutes. And this rule is basically, you can also remove this rule also. If I click, it will generate an error. Oh no, it has not generated an error. If I click over here, I do this now. It will not work. I think there's something wrong with this channel. I'm checking in my tenant. They have, instead of 5, 9, they have 5, 6. And in the problem in the hour, they have put 5 or 1. Our configuration is, it's 4 and 9 and we have 5 there. Click in there. What is maximum consecutive hours without a meal? Maximum consecutive hours. How many hours you can work without a break? The maximum limit of that. Can we make that 5 or 1? Because I think 5 or 1. Because this one, the one below here, let's try that. Not to make it 1. Let's go into mean and break. Either we make it 0 or we, and what 0? This is 0 hours, hours of 5. Not here in the mean break, leave this at 4. And in this screen that hours. This hour, let's make it fine. We made it last time. And what is the placement rule in your tenant? Begin no later than X hours after the shift. But we don't have anything there. Maximum consecutive hours, we don't have anything there. Let's see. This is basically your break time. What break you want to give. And this is something the rule of this meal. The length of the break. The meal should begin no later than the X hours after the beginning of the shift that we have determined. If it is happening, then there is a violation. That is something that you need to check. And the way to test it is basically first you have to identify. This is the task time clock history. Time clock history is basically all the clock events it will give you. You first add a clock event. Clock event. Like clock event when you start the shift. Like for example, while testing your time data station. Start the shift prior, like I was doing 7. The way you have done. After that, go to this application time. And click on the checkout for the local, who is using in and out. Select out and automatically it will come up. Why can't they use this and play it right? Because he also has one time code that is in and out. We can use it. But for in this tenant you cannot proxy. The thing is that, right. Let me see if we can do it. Time clock. And not a time clock. As long as he has an in and out code, he is eligible for it. You can do it for him. But we don't have the rules for his template. You have to create this. Let's see. It will work. Automatically checking would come. If I did it, you will see the time entered code is regular. For Blair, but it will not work. There is no attestation rule and anything. It will, you need to configure that. The instructions that I have given to you apply on any of the worker in your tenant in your sandbox. Today is Wednesday. You can apply for sandbox and check if it is working or not. Tomorrow at the same time, like 6 o'clock. It's right now 6 o'clock over there. Tomorrow last 11 o'clock, I'll connect from here. Alright? We can discuss all of the things that we have discussed in. I have a few questions on our function. On functions, like there's a function that says hours before first 30-minute break of shift. What does that mean? Like in time attestation like there is. This is one of the calculation rules, not here. And the calculation rules in the field if you have hours before the first 30-minute break of the shift. I mean the temperature meal break conditional conditions. No, it is. They are creating that meal penalty. And they're eating it through a calculated field of hours. What is that? Hours before first 30-minute break of shift. Like if you just create a calculated field, I think we can get value there. What it is doing. That's what I'm asking. Like, what does it mean? What is the meaning of that function? They have created a custom calculated field. No, it's not. It's Workday delivered. That's why. What was that? Once again. Is there a way I can send it to you? Hours before first 30 minutes of the break. Let me put it in chat. Basically what it does, I got it. Hours before the first 30 minutes of the break of the shift. First in your California meal penalty or whatever a meal penalty. Alright? There is one thing that you have to have a certain break of hours. Hours before the first. Less than or greater than 30 minutes of rate. How many if the hours are right? If it is greater than or less than it, what it does like. Before you take a break, how many hours you have worked. Right? That is, this particular item captures from your reported quantity. Can you give me an example? Like if it starts at 5 and that then. What will this? For example, I started at 10. And I took a break at 12. Hours before first, and I've taken a break. If my shift is of 9 hours, the first value I've taken is 2 hours. What it will do 2 hours before the first 30 minutes break of the shift. This is something that this value would contain. This calculated fieldwork. Are you getting it? This is how many hours you work before you have taken your first break. This is something that it will give you. If I work 6 hours, it will give me 6 hours. Just before you have taken your first break. 5. I log in at 5 and I clock in at 5 and then my first break at 11. 6. This will give me 6 hours. That thing greater than equal to 30 minutes. That's very confusing. The first 30 minutes. Break off shift. I don't know. I was hoping if you can get them. No, it is a Workday delivered thing and there are a lot of delivered fields. You have to understand what is the description gives you. It's a Workday delivered. Then, it should have a description written over there. It has a description, but it says total hours work for a shift. Taking the first break of any day for 30 minutes. Yes, again. Again read that total hours worked for a shift. Prior to taking the first break of any day for 30 minutes or more. I put that in the chat also. Total work hours for a shift prior to taking the first break of any type of 30 minutes total hours for a shift prior to taking a first break of any type. Oh, I just thought that is the same thing. It is described it on a longer way. How many hours you have worked till? I checked at 10 am. My check-in time. And I worked till 6 pm. Total hours. And I've taken 45 minutes of break. 45 minutes of break. 8 hours is greater than equal to 30 minutes or not. Total hours. Work for a shift prior to taking. How many hours you have to work? Alright? Before you can use the first break if it is greater than equal to 30 minutes. Let's say my break is 25 minutes, it will not take. It will not. But you can think it like this. For example, this would create also, you can create a validation also in that this using, for example, and my shift is, I start at 10. And I have taken my first break at 10:30. Does that make sense? That only 30 minutes of work. It definitely can. And I've taken 30 minutes break. You can trigger violation also. Yes, that's what they're doing. Let me see if I can put it. It won't. Let me put the screenshot. You can put a violation over here, that less of time before taking the first break of 30 minutes or more than that. It will not. It will not give you anything on that. It's like they have described it on this way. Because they have used these functions. And I was thinking like this is a click and clock out workers. This is what the clock and clock out workers. Correct, Karanya. Let me try one more time here. One. it won't send us to. It will not, because this is not a premium version of this. This is the work that you and this, all these fields, comes in this particular California thing. I'll follow the steps and I'll configure it and the tenant, and tomorrow I'll share the results again. You share the results with me. Alright. And we can do some brainstorming on that, and also we can have. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.